Hey guys, so today we're going to just do a little bit of a different kind of lesson. I want to talk a bit about hotkeys and getting to know your IDE. So it's not necessary. It's not something that is necessary. It's just a topic that is useful to know, and just for getting around very quickly inside of your IDE and being comfortable with it. And so this is kind of like if you're going to go pick up any game right now, like say, if, League, Dota, StarCraft, CS:GO, anything like that, right? You're going to want to know all the hotkeys for the game so that you can get around faster and spend more time playing and beating everybody else versus clicking around in your interface, which is just not an optimal way to be playing. I mean, you can get away with it for sure, but it's just not going to be the best experience. Anyway, I'm just going to kind of go through a bunch of common things and then maybe a little bit more advanced stuff. So that's why over this way, you're going to see I've got a keyboard on screen. Let's just kind of hop right into this. So things that everybody should know probably are Control C, Control V, Control X. So Control C, is going to be copy. So I can Control C that. Control V to paste that a bunch of times. If I wanted to move this somewhere else, I might hit Control X, which is cut, and then that goes onto your clipboard, and then I can Control V and paste that anywhere else, and it's just whatever is on my clipboard last, right? So those are three super common ones. You use those in like a lot of word editing and stuff. So most people probably have seen that somewhere. Ones that you might not know, so like home is going to, well, this is a bad example. Home key is going to take me to the home of the line, which is going to be over here on the far left. And so you'll see that flash up real quickly. End is going to do the opposite, where it takes you all the way to the end of that line. You can get a little bit fancier with this. If I want to go all the way to the start of a document, I can hit Control and then Home. And now I'm all the way at the top. Same thing, hold down Control and End. And now I'm all the way at the end of the document. Okay? Let's see. So sometimes you want to do a bunch of Shift and you want to select a lot of lines at once. So Shift is going to be kind of the key that does that. I know most people will kind of think of that as the key that's going to, upper and lowercase, whatnot. But so if I do Shift and End, I can select an entire line and then copy it. Same thing, like if I'm on the way at this side and I hold Shift and hit Home, it does that. If I hold Shift and then start hitting down arrow, it just starts selecting a bunch of lines, or reducing it by hitting up arrow as I'm going, and then it'll start going in the opposite direction. I can hold Shift and start using this arrow, the right arrow, and start selecting these one at a time. Or, I don't know, maybe I'm in the middle of this, and I just want actually to get past. So I can hold down Shift and left arrow. So that's kind of just some selection voodoo here. If I want to, let's see, so I can go all the way up to here. Maybe I want to, let's see, if I hold Control Shift End, and I'm all the way at the top of the document, I can now select everything like this. Another way to do that is Control A. We'll do that. So it's a control, like select all, basically. Maybe I did something where I've pasted a bunch of stuff and I didn't want to. I can hit Control Z, similar to how you'd undo most document stuff, and that'll work in here. It works in pretty much any web browser. Let's see, if I wanted to redo that, a lot of people don't know this one for some reason. It's Control Y. And that just kind of, so this kind of functions similar to, like, it's a stack structure basically. So every time that you do an action, it gets pushed onto the stack. Every time that you want to undo it, it gets pushed or popped off. So similar to like how we worked with the call stack, right? So that's what's going on. So a lot of people are familiar with backspace to delete things. What people don't use a whole lot is delete, which is it consumes the line from the other side. So I can hit delete and it just starts deleting these guys forward. Kind of similarly, if I start typing right now, it's going to push the line forward like that. sometimes you don't want to do that, so you can hit ins or insert. And now that's going to, well, shoot, I guess in this one it doesn't do it. But most like editors, it's going to start overwriting all this stuff. Probably work over in the console. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's see. So tab is going to be another one that we want to talk about. So let's see if I just would put in like, print hello world here. So tab is going to actually just bring this to, or here, let me copy this a few times. Okay. And so tab is actually going to just bring this to the next tab line. Actually, let's mess around with this. Let me show you a little bit more. So right now I've got this set to an indent size of 2. 4 would probably be a little bit more standard. So once I do that, all my tabs are going to change. So it's just kind of like a personal preference thing, whichever you want to do. I think 4 is actually kind of nice because it shows you a lot more of like, it's very clear when something's indented and when it's not, but this is definitely a little bit more compact. You'll notice too that I've got like a dark theme right now, and that's just all it's all set right here. And same thing, you can kind of mess around with all these different layouts depending on what your preference is. And then these are two like very old school editors. Emacs you can do a ton of configurations with, and then Vim is something a lot of people are familiar with. I can't remember if it's C primarily or what, but I know Emacs is definitely kind of got to start in the C world. Let's see. And they just have some other stuff like whether or not you want IntelliSense and whatnot. But that's where that's all hidden kind of. So we're in this area. So yeah, let's try a little bit more. So like what people don't really get about tabs, I think, is that it's not always going to do 4, or it shouldn't always. It's going to go to whatever the next spacing is. So like if I do 2 spaces here, let me see. Or here, let me do this. I'm going to do tab twice here, and then right, so I put 1 space here, and so theoretically this guy should go all the way up to 1 space forward. But what's going to happen is, oops, it instead brings it right up to the next tab line. So it's like every 4, basically. These like the tab is going to be like the next spot on here. I don't know if you want to like think of it in a different way. Like in football, you'd have like every 10 yards, you've got a line. So it kind of brings you up to that next 10-yard spot, basically, is kind of what it's doing. Anyway, moving on here. So if I want to indent a bunch of things all at once, I can select a bunch of lines, and I can hit tab, and that's going to move them all forward. If I said, oh no, I didn't want to do this, or I'm working on stuff and it's way far back in the undo stack, you can hit shift and tab, and that'll unindent a bunch of lines. Another big one that's probably the last one I think we're going to cover for at least the text editing window here is, so up here I've got a bunch of stuff, and let's say all this stuff here is going to be the code that we want to unindent. So I can hit control and then /, and that unindents all of these. Sometimes it gets a little screwed up with the coloring. I'm not sure if this is REPL or if that's how everything kind of just does this. I've seen this bug kind of come up in a few different editors as well. So it's not just them, I guess. But anyway, if I want to re-comment all of this stuff out, I can do the same thing. Hold control and /, and it does it. Some editors are going to be different. I think in Visual Studio, you've got like control shift / or something like that, or control shift K. But yeah, you're just going to have to kind of look it up. A lot of things, if you go up into the settings or preferences, you'll find an area of hotkeys. But this is going to be a little bit more REPL-centric. So anyway, let's move on over to this area. So this is the console area where you can do live coding and stuff. So let's just kind of do a bunch of random things in here first. So I'm going to just start by putting a print hello world. And since this is Python, it's interactive. Oh, it's mad because of my indentations. Here. There we go. So I can print stuff in here, right? If I want to go back and modify that line now and say, instead of hello, I'm going to say hey. Right, so here we go. So I just hit up arrow, and I got the previous thing that I put into that console window back. Once we get a bunch more in here, I can also hit down and kind of cycle through different things that I've entered into the console window and go forward and back amongst them. Very similar to kind of like a stack as well. Let's see. So maybe what I'm going to do here now. Oh, well, I guess before we move on to the next thing, so this is another place where you're going to want to use like home and end a lot, because it gets kind of clunky to actually move around in here since your cursor is always going to be this little white block. And okay, so this one doesn't do that by default, but if I hit insert in here, oh, okay. So almost all of these, like if I went into a Windows command prompt and started doing stuff in here, right, and then I go to the front and I hit insert, I can just start overwriting everything. And then I have to hit insert again to get rid of that. So this is just kind of bizarre. That's how the Python interpreter works, I guess. But anyway, like that's one of these places where you might actually want to use things like delete because you're moving around one at a time, or you need to use like home and end to get to the end of lines if you're trying to live code something real quickly just to prototype or see how something's going to work. Maybe what I did in here next is I'm going to say, let's just give this like a gigantic loop that's going to really eat up resources. So what this is going to do, I'm going to try to show you Control C kills whatever's going on. It sends a key interrupt. So I'm going to send something that's going to take a while for it to evaluate that we're not going to want to sit through because it could potentially crash it, right? So for I in range, I don't know, just do a lot of zeros here, right? And then, so the way that Python's interpreter works is I can start writing things, and it's going to know that now I've got additional code coming, because this isn't a complete, I don't know, like, it's not syntactically complete, right? So now I'm going to need to put a couple of spaces in here for Python to know that I'm inside my for loop, even though there's an ellipses here showing that this is part of the previous statement. So let's just print hello world. So this is going to print this out, whatever number this is times, right? And then it's going to say, like, it's not sure if I'm done with my for loop yet, but if I hit enter again, it's going to start executing, and I'm going to hit Control C after a little bit to stop this loop prematurely. And there we go. So you'll see this kind of show up as like a little caret, or like the up arrow. And I mean, that's basically like their symbol for control, if I remember correctly. So I hit Control C, and it stopped this before it got out of control, even though it's kind of out of control. So lastly here, I guess, let's see. So over here, the only thing I've got a bunch of stuff here. Let's just comment all of this out. So I'm going to basically held down Shift and then moved my mouse to the end here. It's another way you can work with Shift and selecting multiple things. I'm going to just comment all of this stuff out. And maybe like you're working over here and you don't want to use all your keys all the time, or click over in here or whatever, click this guy. So what you can actually do is hit Control Enter, and that will just run this. Another thing is, last time we had a bunch of stuff on here. If you want to quickly clear this, there is a button over here to clear it, but sometimes you just want to use keys, and that's Control L. So that's going to be kind of everything that's part of REPL, but there are a couple of other things that are probably worth talking about right now. Some of these aren't going to be specific to this site. It's going to just kind of be like Chrome or Windows. So let's just talk about these real quickly. So F11 is going to full screen. So this is sometimes useful if you want like a distraction-free, like coding environment, or just a little bit more screen space, or you're giving a presentation, right? You don't want all the other stuff on your screen. If you hit F11 again, or I think escape also works sometimes. No, not in this case. But yeah, if you hit it again, it's going to just bring you back into your normal Chrome tab. Control T is going to open up another tab here. So that's useful if you want to open up a bunch of these. Let's see. I don't know. Let's go to Python docs or something like that, right? If I want to shift between these two guys real quickly, I can hit Control Tab, and that bounces back and forth. I don't have enough tabs open right now for this to be useful, but if I can do Control Shift Tab to go backwards as opposed to forwards. So if I Control Copy and paste this guy again, right? So Control Shift Tab, there we go. Like it went to this tab now. And then I can go forward with them. Okay. This one you're really not going to need a whole lot right now, but F12 brings up the developer console. It's popped open on another screen because I already have this set up for that, but you can kind of see things like if there's stuff that's going on or your site's freezing up, that's where this stuff would show up. Let's see what else. Oh, page up and down is something we might want to talk about. So it just kind of goes up. It doesn't go all the way to the top of the document or all the way to the bottom. It goes like page size. So it takes a couple of times to go all the way back up and down. Oh, let's see, print screen. So if I hit print screen, maybe you want to show a screenshot of what's going on with your thing because you know it's doing something crazy that you can't reproduce or whatever, or you're not sure if it's your code that's doing it or something else. So print screen is going to actually print out the entire screen. So I've got two monitors, so it's actually going to collect both of those. So if I go into like Paint right now, so you'll see that. You'll also see over here my notes from this, right? And then screen cap of OBS. If I want to just print this screen though, I can hit Alt print screen. And now when I paste this in, you just get the one window that I was working with. So that's more of like a Windows hotkey thing. Let's see, some of these other kind of fun ones, I guess. So if I hit Windows D, it's going to clear my entire screen off. Or take you to like, that's if you're in Windows only. So that brings me to the home screen or whatever, your desktop. If you have a lot of stuff open, sometimes that's useful. Windows L I'm not going to do, but it's going to lock my computer screen. Sometimes you're working with these things and you want to snap them really quickly to some or part of your screen. So if I hold Windows and then like an arrow, it'll snap. Or I can snap it to the left side. So that works sometimes, like if you have documentation open over here and you want to be working on this screen, you can do that. You can also do Windows up, and that's going to maximize it again. Sometimes you can get them into these situations though. There we go. We've got like half or quarter screen. And the last one I'm going to show off is Windows Tab. So a lot of people are probably familiar with like Alt Tab for quickly getting around all the different things. But Windows Tab actually takes you to all of your desktops. So I have like a desktop for personal projects. I've got one for the Teals, and then this one's for work. And so you can kind of just do that by creating them here, and that's like a little virtual space for you to work in. So it's something kind of useful if you have a lot of different development spaces that you want to work on, or you have a lot of different projects and you want to kind of have clean workspaces. A lot of different things. I'm sure, I know there's a version of this for Mac, and I know Linux has one as well. I don't remember exactly how to access those, but it's probably very similar keys. So anyway, that's kind of the whirlwind tour of all the stuff that might help you develop faster, because that's the whole goal of this, is to spend less time messing around with your mouse and keyboard and more time actually coding, right? Hope this helps and hope everybody's still doing good. See you later.